Hello everyone, this is Amit Latikra. In this video, I'm going to discuss about basics of computer program. So main question is, what is a computer program? In very basic way, computer program is a series of instructions or a set of instructions which tells a computer to perform a specific task. Let's make it more simple. I want computer to find addition of two numbers. So I can write a computer program which directs a computer to perform addition of two numbers. This process contains several tasks. For example, addition of two numbers meaning which two numbers. So I can guide computer to take two numbers from the user as an input. Next, I can guide a computer to process these input numbers. And finally, to display the result on screen, which is addition of two numbers as an output. So in very basic way, computer program is nothing but taking an input from the user, process it further to produce a desired output. This is the simple meaning of computer program. So computer program is as simple as adding a two numbers to the advanced one, like booking a flight, rail or bus tickets, or booking a movie ticket. So anything which you want computer to perform for your easiness, we can write a particular computer program. And as I mentioned, computer program is nothing but series of instructions, set of instructions, which executes in particular order, step by step, to get the desired output. Let's make it even more simple. Whenever we are writing any of the computer program, then before writing a computer program, we need to perform several analytical part. We should do appropriate basic work through which we can write a computer program very easy. We can even represent a computer program in a graphical way before writing actual computer program, that is a flowchart, or we can write English like statements before writing actual computer program, that is algorithm. So in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to write a basic computer program. As I discussed earlier, very basic, to add two numbers. Before that, how can we write algorithm? How can we draw a flowchart? How can we implement it on real way? So this all I'm going to discuss in subsequent part of this video. So very first is a graphical representation of computer program, which we are considering as a flowchart. Flowchart is basically a graphical representation of computer program, and as it is a graphical representation, it involves various symbols. For an example, this symbol indicates start or a stop. We can indicate this is a start of program. We can indicate this is end of the program. To take an input from the user, we can use this symbol. This is represents as input, as well as to produce an output, we can use the same symbol. So this is for input and output. For any particular process, for example, I want to add two numbers or any similar process, we can use this rectangle symbol, which indicates process. At a particular point of time, we need to come across a condition, a situation, which indicates the further path. Example, I want to check whether the number is greater than 10 or not, whether a user wants to continue further or not. Like, do you want to continue? Yes or no. So similar kind of situations we can represent in flowchart using this diamond symbol. This is basically for a condition. For a complex computer program, your flowchart is the lengthier one, which may not fit in a single page, or it contains several parts. To provide the continuity, we are using circle symbol. This is basically the connector. Like at the end of first page, you can put this connector. In the beginning of the second page, you can even specify the same connector, which indicates a joint between the flowcharts. And finally, the flow of a data we can represent using any of these symbols which indicates a flow. So these are the basic diagrams of a flowchart. Now coming back to our previous example, which I said indicates addition of two numbers. So I want to do it using a flowchart. How can I proceed? It's very simple. To add two numbers, what we require is I need to tell to the computer to accept two numbers from the user. Next, I need to add both the numbers. I need to store the result in third number, and that I want to display on screen. So let's start the flowchart using the very first symbol, start. What comes next? I need an input from the user. So let's have input symbol. Next, I need two numbers from the user. So number 1 and number 2. Next, what I want to do, I want to do a process of adding both the numbers. So that is my result. So let me use res as a result. And I want to add both the numbers, number 1 and number 2, whatever entered by the user through this input part. Once result is ready, next comes displaying the same on screen. So again, my output symbol, what I want to do, I want to display result on screen. Next, after displaying the result, end of my program. So I represent it using the stop symbol. So this is a basic flowchart, very basic for the simplest computer program, taking two numbers, adding them together, storing the result, and display the same on screen. So for any computer program, we can represent its graphical form through a flowchart. Next, we can write an algorithm. An algorithm is nothing but a series of English-like statements which indicates how computer program looks like. So let's write an algorithm for similar computer program, adding two numbers and displaying result on screen. So as I said, it is a step by step representation of computer program. So we can write it through series of steps, like very first is the start. You can always relate it with flowchart. Next, we need to take an input from user. So it is my step 2. Take input from user is number 1 and number 2. So next step is calculate result is number 1 plus number 2. Calculate my result as number 1 plus number 2. So next step is displaying result on screen. So display result as an output of addition of entered values. Finally, step 5 indicates stop. So this is my flowchart. Based on flowchart, I prepared an algorithm which takes two number from the user as an input. We are going to calculate its addition. So we'll add number 1 and number 2, storing result in result variable, displaying on screen and stop. So here I mentioned about variables. So what a variable is? Variable is nothing but it indicates certain value which varies upon a time. For example, my two values might be 25 and 34. My two values might be 5 and 8. My two values might be 54 and 39, and so on. So such values you need to store in a computer for a temporary reason, and to do so we require variables. There are certain rules to mention the variable names, certain guidelines rather. Very simple. Few guidelines I want to mention here itself, like what we can use. We can use in variable names alphabets like A to Z, small or a capital A to Z, digits 0 to 9, and underscore. So this is a very first guideline to create a variable name. Second is no blank spaces allowed. So for example, if we are keeping variable name as number 1, then this is invalid. To do so, ideal way is number underscore 1. So this is permissible. So no blank spaces allowed. Usually we are starting a variable with alphabets, small a to Z, or capital A to Z, or underscore. So it's not advisable to start a variable using a digit. Fourth one is no keywords allowed. So next is what is a keyword? To write a computer program, we require a programming language. Examples C, C++, Java, Python, C# are a few names. Each programming language has own set of reserved words or keywords, meaning its meaning is known to the programming language. Example, I want to evaluate a condition, as I mentioned earlier, whether my number is above 50 or not. Above 50 or not. I want to do this in computer program. So for this, I need to mention a condition. And to do so, keyword available is if. This is one example. Likewise, we are having set of keywords particular to a particular programming languages. So usually we are not using such keywords in variable names. Next, to write this computer program, again, the easiest way is to put it in a graphical way to check everything is working or not, and then finally you can write actual computer program. And the best way is to use this Scratch. So URL is scratch.mit.edu. This is a very good platform which developer can use as a beginner before writing any computer program. So same thing, whatever I mentioned here as an algorithm or as a flowchart, we can represent the same thing in Scratch. So here, by looking at algorithm, what I am considering here is we require several variables like number one, number two, and result. So that facility is available here in Scratch under the variables. So we need to create a variable by clicking make a variable. So let me use first variable is number one, second variable is number two. To store the result, my third variable res, that is result. So number one, number two, and result. I created three variables. Next, I need to start. So start is basically a start of program. And next is take an input from user as number one and number two. So to take an input, we can use various blocks as specified here on left hand side. We are having a series of blocks. So what I want to do, I want to take an input from the user. So here we are having sounds, events, control. So in subsequent videos, I will discuss these all. But here I want to take an input from a user, and for that available block is ask. So here I need to ask the user that enter first number and wait. After taking an input, we need to wait. So whatever the number entered by the user, it considered here as an answer. And what I need to do, I need to store it in a variable which I have created earlier. So I need to use these variables number one and number two. So what basically I need to do, set my number one to answer. So whatever the answer entered by the user, input entered by the user, that I'm setting as number one. Next, I need to repeat the same thing. So I can use the duplicate, and here now it is enter second number and wait. And we need to set number two to the answer. So what I did, I completed step two, take input from user as number one and number two. Next is calculate. So set my result. Result is basically the addition of two numbers. So it comes under operators. I need to add number one and number two. So number one plus number two, whatever the answer that I want to set it in result. Next, I want to display result on screen. So for that, again, I require a block that is say what I want to display. I want to display a message like addition of entered numbers is and then answer. So for that, let me use the join block. The purpose of join block is to concatenate the messages. So first part is what I want to display here is addition of two entered numbers is, and finally I want to display value of result. And this I want to display on screen. So this is my last step. Calculate after calculating result displaying on screen. Now let's check. So I clicked here. It is in execution mode. Here a prompt, enter first number. So let me enter 15. Okay, so number one is 15. Enter second number. So let me enter 25. Okay, number two is 25. Addition of two entered numbers is 40. So result is 40 on screen. So this is a very basic idea about a computer programming. And in this video, I demonstrated how can we achieve the same using a platform like Scratch. Similar thing we can perform using a computer programming language like C. Let me write a computer program in a C language to take an input from the user, two numbers, and performing addition, displaying on screen. So in C language, we need to include respective header files. So let me use standard input output .h. Program begins with main function, so void main. So this is the structure of C program. Now here, what I required is variables like number one, number two, and result. So number one, number two, and result. Each C statement terminates with a semicolon. Now what this variable indicates, what kind of value it is going to hold in a future. So basically numerical values and real numbers without any decimal places. So this we can specify in a C programming language using a keyword int, which indicates integer. So my number one, number two, and result, all three are integer variables. Now what I want to do, I want to give a message, enter two integer numbers. So here I gave a message, enter two integer numbers, or you can specify the same what I mentioned here, enter first number, enter second number. So let's do the same thing to make it uniform. Enter first number. To take an input from the user in a C, available statement is scanf. To indicate integer values, we are using %d, and where to store this value in number one variable. So here we are giving a reference of number one variable. So in this way we can store value entered by the user in first number. Similar way, enter second numbers, and let's use scanf to scan the value. Third is I need to calculate result. So it's very simple. Addition of number one and number two. And I want to store a result of this addition. I want to assign it to my result variable. Next, I want to print a message. Addition of two entered number is. So I want to print a message. So printf addition of two entered number is. Here I want to display some value, decimal value, and value comes from my result variable. So comma result. So that's it. This is my very simple program. Declaring variables, first message, taking input from the user, second message, taking input from the user, calculating addition, displaying on screen. So let me save this program in my D drive as first computer program. Extension of C computer program is .c. So first .c. Next, I need to compile it. Compile it meaning getting its executable file, and finally its execution. So I've installed GCC in my system. So I'm using GCC command, name of the source file where computer program exists, that is first.c. I need to produce an output file. Name of the output file is first.exe. Let's press enter. So it's going to compile your program. Compile meaning it converts these all statements in binary statements which computer understands, and it creates executable file that is first.exe. So let me execute this file first.exe. It gives me a message. Enter first number. So let me enter 15. Enter second number. So let me enter 25. And finally, it gives me a message. Addition of two entered number is 40. So in this video, I discussed what a computer program is. Let me recap it. It is as simple as taking an input from the user, processing it further to get the desired output. Computer program we can represent in a graphical way through the flowchart, various symbols through which we can draw a flowchart. First flowchart to add two numbers entered by the user. Next is algorithm. It's nothing but a set of instructions in English statements which user understands easily, which indicates a particular computer program. Variables, rules to create or guidelines to create variable names. Then Scratch to represent various blocks from the algorithm or from the flowchart. And first computer program written in a C language to take two numbers as an input, adding them together, producing the output. I hope you enjoyed this learning video. Keep watching the subsequent videos for the next possible topics. Thank you. Have a good time ahead.